So before I even get into this video, if you're watching this in the night time and you've nothing to do tomorrow, get yourself a shot, get yourself a drink and take a shot every time that I say stroke. Hi guys, how are you all? So welcome back to my video this week. This week I'm going to do a little get ready with me as I tell you one of my wild story times as per usual. But yeah, I'm extremely pale, so I'm hoping I have a foundation to match my face because I'm on a tan cleanse and I'm also on a cleanse from using heat on my hair, so I'm hoping it dries decently. But yeah, so let's get right into the video. Okay, so for those of you that know me and those of you that don't know me, basically this story is going to be on the time that I got Bell's palsy. So if anybody doesn't know what Bell's palsy is, it's basically, I don't really know the medical terms of it, but the way I always explain to people is basically like the symptoms of a stroke. So like you lose the feeling in one side of your face and stuff like that. So I'm just going to tell you about the time that I was 16 and I got it, and it was the most terrifying time of my life. So basically it can be caused by like stress and like a draft if you sleep with your window open or whatever. 16, and the night before I got like an earache and I was like, oh okay, whatever. But because of the earache I didn't sleep too well. The next day I was wrecked and my ears were killing me and stuff like that. And I remember being in my auntie's house. That should match. I remember being in my auntie's house and oh my god, pale foundation just does not suit me. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. But yeah, I was there and I was trying to eat like ice cream because the whole side of my face was hurting and I thought it was just because of the earache. So that night I went home and I got a 3-in-1, and it's so funny, like I remember eating it and it felt like I was eating like one side of my mouth, and I was like, am I actually so tired that I literally can't even eat? Like, what is wrong with me? And I never really put anything to it because I was exhausted. So I went up to bed at like, I think I went to bed at like 7 o'clock, and that was grand. I slept actually really well that night. And then the next day I woke up and I went downstairs, felt completely fine, everything was okay. And we have like a mirror in our hall. So I was grand anyway, I went into the kitchen, didn't even notice anything, was walking back out past the mirror, and I just like, no, like looked at myself as you do as you walk past the mirror. And basically one side of my, I think I noticed my eyebrow. So like even you can still kind of see like my eyebrows aren't level, and that's purely because of this. But I noticed my eyebrow was like, one was like down here. It was, I think it was the left side of my face.
The right side of my face.
It was like down here, and my other eyebrow was like obviously where it's supposed to be. So I was like looking at myself, I was like, oh my god, right? So as a 16-year-old home alone with your eyebrow dropping and not noticing the feeling in your face, I started to panic and I ran upstairs to the bathroom to see like if there was better light or whatever, to see if I wasn't going like crazy. So my brother was in bed, and like he's useless anyway, so like he'd literally be no good to you. So I started panicking and I rang my mum that was in work, and I was like hysterically screaming on the phone basically because I had noticed that my mouth wasn't moving when I was speaking. So she was like, what is going on? And I was like higging, crying, and she was like, Jade, but you calm down, tell me what's wrong, like. And I was like, I'm having a stroke. And like literally she was like, what? I was like, ma, I'm having a stroke, like I'm having a stroke. And she was like, what is going on? Like I was like, ma, I can't feel one side of my face, like I'm having a stroke. And she was having none of it. She was like, Jade, cop on, like whatever, like, you know, she was starting to panic on the phone. And all I could hear in this time was my brother in his bedroom, "You're not having a stroke." And I was like, "Brian, I'm having a stroke." And he was like, "You're not having a stroke." And my mom was still on the phone at this stage, and me and Brian were like literally killing each other. At this stage he was like, "If you were having a stroke, you would have had it last night." I don't know where his logic was in that. I genuinely don't, but he was like, "If you're having a stroke, you would have had last night." And then my ma, like, she was still on the phone, so she hung up and she rang Brian and she was like, "What's going on?" And Brian was like, "Oh, ma, she's saying she's having a stroke, but sure she's not having a stroke." And Mammy was like, "Have you seen her?" Like, and he was like, "No, but I know she's not having a stroke." So that was grand. Like, I'm not joking when I tell you this was the most dramatic day in my house ever. The door knocked and it was my brother's friend, and he was like, "Jade, go get the door." I was like, "Brian, do you not even care about me? Like, I'm in the middle of having a stroke and you don't care." And he was like, "Jade, for the last time, you're not having a stroke." I was like, "How do you know? You won't even come out of bed and look at me." So in the middle of this time, I went down and I opened the door, and I opened the door to Brian's friend, and he was like, literally took one look at me and he was like, "Oh my God, Jade, what's going on with your face? Like, what's wrong?" I was like, "I'm having a stroke." And he was like, "What the fuck?" And Brian was like, "Oh, you're not having a stroke." And I was like, "Brian, if you come down the stairs and fucking look at me, you know I'm having a stroke." Brian's friend was like, "No, Brian, there's something wrong here." Like, and he got, at this stage, Brian got tick and he got out of bed. Still didn't come look at me. He literally got out the window, and my neighbour was over in her garden, so, and he was like, "Anne, will you come over and tell Jade that she's not having a stroke?" I was like, "Oh my God." Brian's friend's girlfriend went over and collected her from school, where she works, and she was saying that she had rang the doctor, and they were like, "Oh, we'll see her like later on," because my mom thought it was being dramatic or whatever, and she was like, "Okay, there's actually nothing wrong with her, she's probably just like sick." So that was grand. Anyway, Anne came over and she was like, "Jade, you are not having a stroke." I was like, "I'm having a stroke." And she was like, "No, you're not having a stroke." She was like, "Jade, you have Bell's palsy." She's like, "It's the symptoms of a stroke." She was like, "But I promise you, you're not having one." I was like, "No, I am. And at this stage, like, she was just trying to calm me down so much, and like Brian was just making it worse because he was just getting thicker and thicker, and he was like, "Jade, I swear to God, you're not having a stroke." And I was like, "You don't even care about me." And at this stage, I didn't even know my mom was coming home, but she arrived home, and Anne was explaining to her, like, obviously that she had it before and that it's nothing to worry about. Obviously, just go to the doctor or whatever before it gets too bad. So in this stage, I was still inconsolable, and my ma was like, came home and she was like, "Oh my God, like, I think she genuinely got a fright." And she had rang back the doctor, and she's like, "Look, somebody needs to see her now," or whatever. So I went to the doctor's anyway, and the doctor was like really nice, and she was like, "Oh no, like, you're not having a stroke, like, it's genuinely Bell's palsy, like, we'll send you to the hospital and they'll like prescribe you with stuff or whatever that will help clear it up." So I was like, okay. So my auntie Helen brought me down to I think I had to go to Waterford, I can't remember anyway, but she brought me down anyway, and lo and behold, where did they send me? Only to the fucking stroke unit. And I was pure panic, lads. No matter who told me what, I was genuinely freaking out, like, literally inconsolable. And we were down there for a couple of hours anyway, and they had told me everything, and like, they had done tests and stuff like that. And when we were on the way home, my brother rang and he was like, "Well, is she having a stroke?" And I was like, "Tell him to go fuck himself." And I was, oh my God, it was horrible, lads. But basically I got home that evening and he started to feel a little bit sorry for me, and he was like, "I'm sorry, Jade, I didn't mean to give out to you, but Jesus, there's no need to be so dramatic." I was like, my face was falling, it was falling down, like. And he was like, "Yeah, but I'm telling you, if you were having a stroke, you would have had it last night." I was like, where is your logic in that, like? So besides that anyway, I was going into 5th year in school, and it was like literally, this was like literally 3 weeks before we had to go back. And my mum works in the school that I went to. So I went back in, she told the principal that like obviously everything had happened, and he was like, look, tell her not to come back until she's completely comfortable or whatever. But like I was like, no, I'm going back in, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. But like literally, I wish I had pictures to show ye my face. Like literally it was completely not moving. And like I just didn't take pictures at this stage. Like barely anyone even knew that I had it until afterwards. So basically it took ages to heal. So like I thought that it would be completely back to normal by the time I was going back to school. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine, like we'll go back in. But it actually took so long for everything to kind of come back working. And even now sometimes like my eyebrows aren't properly level. And when I talk, I don't know, like I had a lisp anyway, but it's so much worse now. And when I get drunk and stuff, my mouth like goes like this. So if like you ever see me in pictures when I'm drunk, my mouth will probably be slanted. But it's just purely, it doesn't really bother me anymore, but it's just the side effects of it, I suppose. If I get like really tired or really drunk or whatever, that's when it'll happen and it'll come out a little bit. But yeah, I remember being on like, I think I was on like 36 steroids a day. That number could be absolutely completely made up, but like I know it was something along the lines of, sorry, the mirror is behind the camera. Okay, so I'm back and my eyebrows are in such a bad way to be done. Like, oh my god, they're absolutely diabolical. But you'll have to excuse them while I finish off. But basically that's what I was saying. When I went back to school, you could still kind of like notice my face was different, but like as I said, not everybody knew that I had Bell's palsy. So basically we used to always pull faces at each other in school, and one day I was walking down to the doctor's and my friend Kelly was walking down that way, so I was like, oh, I'll walk with you or whatever. And basically at one stage we were doing the walk or whatever, so every time I looked at Kelly she pulled the face back at me, and I was like, oh my god, like what is she doing? And then we were walking down anyway, and she got so frustrated. She was like, Jade, will you ever stop pulling faces at me? I was like, Kelly, I can't. And she was like, why? I was like, because my face is stuck this way. And she was like, what? I said, Kelly, I've been like really sick the last like 3 weeks or whatever. Like I can't actually help my face. And she was like, oh my god, Jade, I've been like pulling faces at you this whole time. I was like, I know. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I didn't have the heart to. She's like, oh my god, I feel so bad. And even to this day, like we still talk about it. It's so funny. But basically, yeah, that was it. But it's funny, everybody that knows me knows I love to talk. So when I got home from the hospital that night and I was talking to my brother and his friends were over, and I was talking to them, and like it was such a struggle because one side of my mouth would not move. So my tongue was so overused basically that it was so swollen, like it would barely fit in my mouth. And my eardrum was like so sensitive over it, like, but it was so bad, like literally if you raised your voice around me, it nearly made my ears bleed. But yeah, it was traumatic then, but if I don't laugh about it now I'll cry. So that's the story of the time that I had a stroke face, and was the most terrified time of my life. So I'm gonna go off camera and finish off my makeup. If anybody has any questions about like Bell's palsy or anything like that, do let me know, because it is actually quite common. I got this idea for telling the story because I seen somebody on TikTok was talking about it, and his mouth was actually, one side of it didn't move at all. So I'm glad that I got all kind of mobility back, but I actually had to do a lot of like physio on my face for it to move again. So basically I had to, like, there was like a little thing that you put in the water and I had to blow on it and try make it flip over, because it was like everything was so weak that I had to try strengthen it all again. But thankfully I got most of my mobility back. I know my mouth is a little bit awkward at some stages and my teeth look really yellow. Oh my god. Ooh. Right, I'm gonna go off camera and finish my makeup and I will be back. What even is a YouTube video off of me if I don't add a video when I'm editing? So you can really notice in the next clip my mouth over, I don't know what way I put on my lipstick, but you can really notice how slanted it is. So you'll have an idea what I'm talking about. It wouldn't usually be like that though, to be honest. I don't know why it's so bad. Maybe it's the colour of the lipstick, I don't know. Not me completely forgetting to put on mascara again as per usual, but basically yeah, that is my little story time. I hope you all enjoyed it and got a little bit of a laugh out of my misfortune, because as I said, if you don't laugh you'll cry. But I hope you all enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. As I said, I'm trying to not use heat on my hair, but it's absolutely looking diabolical, so we'll have to do something about that. I hope you're all keeping well in lockdown. Please make sure to like, share and subscribe with all your friends if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week.